Whether you're picking and grinning or just grinning, grab a drink, pull up a seat. It's time for Roots Music Rambler. Turn it up.
So we're recording this beginning of March, and Jason, you just this past weekend, I believe, went to Nashville. You were at the Opry, Grand Ole Opry, for the "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou" experience. Was it like the 25th anniversary or something of the movie?
25th anniversary of the movie and soundtrack. The soundtrack, obviously, T-Bone Burnett produced and became one of the best-selling soundtracks and highest, on the Billboard charts and all that stuff for so many freaking weeks, and really is given a lot of credit, and I think properly so, for reinvigorating folk and traditional music in the U.S. I mean, that movie and that soundtrack really, most people probably hadn't heard of Gillian Welch until they heard that soundtrack, right? I mean, and now it's just begat all this other music. I mean, Emmylou Harris and Alison Krauss, and I mean, Emmylou Harris was around for a long time, and Alison Krauss was too, but like all these names that are fairly common household names now were not before this sort of revival of traditional mountain folk music and whatnot that came out because of that and became popular in the mainstream because of that movie. So it was the 25th anniversary of that. And so you got Emmylou Harris, Alison Krauss, Molly Tuttle, Billy Strings, the Del McCoury Band, Old Crow Medicine Show. Like I could keep going. The roster was incredible, and I'm gonna not remember certain names, but like one of the actors several of the actors from the movie, not George Clooney, but the ones who were also musicians or sang their parts and whatnot, showed up and did their songs and whatnot. But let me tell you something. That night at the Grand Ole Opry, and I've told you guys before, the Grand Ole Opry is still a radio show, starts promptly at 7, ends promptly at 9. You're in there 2 hours, you're out. All these great acts are on stage in that 2-hour span. So it's just this blitzkrieg in your brain of great talent and music coming at you. But that night was, I think, probably one of the most spectacular roots music events I could imagine that has happened in the last century. It just was so amazing to see all those people hear such great music. The Fairfield Four was there, which there's actually 5 of them, but they were involved in the original soundtrack, and they sang, and it was just like you had this beautiful blend of mountain traditional roots music, deep soul music, gospel music. At one point, the Fisk University Singers, I think is their name, they were on stage and split into 2 with Alison Krauss in the middle. And the way it was lit or whatever, there's a picture on the Appalachian Echoes Facebook page, and I shared it on my Facebook page as well. Alison Krauss glowed. She looked like an angel in the middle of this wonderful choir. And it was, oh my God. I mean, there were probably 12 standing ovations that night. I had chills the whole time. It was amazing to see. And then T-Bone Burnett came out at the end and said a few words.
Nice.
And Ketch Secor was very involved, from Old Crow Medicine Show, was very involved in organizing and setting up and everything. And he also was one of the 3 kind of MC hosts of the night. And Sarah Jaraz was there. I finally got to see Sarah Jaraz live. And this is those like stars aligned weird shit that happens in my life, right? I've told you all some of these weird stories. I've wanted to see Sarah Jaraz for probably 3 or 4 years. I've never been able to see her live, primarily because instead of going on tour for her Jealous Moon album, she did like maybe 3 or 4 weeks worth of shows, and then immediately did the I'm With Her tour and album. And so, and I don't have anything against the I'm With Her, and I'd go see them, but it just never fell in line for me to go see Sarah Jaraz live. Never seen her live. She comes out probably the 3rd or 4th act, and I'm seeing her live for the first time. And the first song I see her sing live is yet another of the lullabies that I sang my daughter when she was a baby, which was "You Are My Sunshine." And
Oh,
it was just I was just sitting there going, "This is too serendipitously weird." It was just so good. Karen and I had a blast. It really was kind of a magical night to witness, and there's a bunch of social media posts out there. You probably won't be hearing this for a few weeks after it
yeah.
actually happened, but please go back and look if you didn't see it because oh man, I mean, I got chills. Dan Tyminski, obviously, who was instrumental in writing and composing a lot of the soundtrack too, was there. He performed. He and Billy Strings performed a song together, and oh man, it was unreal. And in the middle of this thing, I get a text from a friend of mine, Austin Jones, who says, "Hey, Arthur Hancock is there." I've mentioned Arthur Hancock on the show before. He was one of my picking the Grinnin picks not too
Mm.
long ago. Half of Hancock and Shouse. He was also played in the Wooks once upon a time. So like he's there, and so my friend Austin, like in via text message, connects me with Arthur Hancock while we're there. So I didn't get to meet him because it was there's a lot going on. There's a lot of people there.
Sure.
But now Arthur and I are passing messages back and forth. So I'm like, I want to get you on the show. And he's like, man, you let me know. Let's do it. So that was really cool. It was just, it was everything about that night was awesome. I also, on the way down, we went to Clarksville, Tennessee. I had dinner with my sister and my stepdad. And my stepdad's not been in great health lately. So it was really good to see him. And so yeah, it was just, this past Saturday, February the
8th.
8th. Yeah, that was right. 28th it was a great day. It was a
Aw.
really great day.
Well,
And
that's great.
so, yeah, I had a blast, and I'm telling you, I've 2 for 2. I've been to the Grand Ole Opry, and it's been fantastic. They keep that 2-hour window tight. You're in and you're out. This time, there were not 40 tour buses of 90-year-olds. Um, so the crowd was a lot more diverse, which I was very happy to see.
Yeah.
A lot younger too, which I'm very, very happy to see. And nobody was yelling for Janice again. And so it was, yeah, it worked out great. We had we had better seats. So I got better pictures and videos. And, if you look on the old The Jason Falls TikTok, I've got the picture of, Sarah Jarosz and Molly Tuttle,
I
singing
think I saw that, yeah.
together. And then I've got, another video. I don't remember who it is. So it's probably some combination of Sarah Jarosz, Molly Tuttle, and somebody else. I don't remember.
So, okay, first, I'm thrilled that you and Karen had such a great time, seeing that show. Next, I'm slightly jealous, um, and simply because of the impact that that movie and the soundtrack especially had on me and the evolution of my music
Yeah.
preferences, like, that movie came out 2001, right? 2001, yeah,
Yep.
and, I was maybe, like, 5 years into my alt country Americana, like, obsession. And, then that movie and the soundtrack were released, and it was like, "Oh my goodness." Like, it really and now, we've talked about this plenty of times. I grew up in the middle of Chicago. No one I knew was listening to country, bluegrass, or anything like that. In fact, the first time I ever even heard country music was when I was in college in Michigan, and one of my roommates was a big country music fan, and she and her mom always went line dancing and stuff like that. And I'm like, "What is this? What is line dancing?" So it so for someone like me to just newly introduced, relatively speaking, to that sort of genre of music, and even, like, the lifestyle, it was very impactful, and, the other thing that I'm slightly jealous of, as I saw that Jerry Douglas was also on the bill.
Yes.
So I've seen him a couple times now, and, I mean, if you ever need to come up with a name for, like, a badass dobro player, then you gotta go with
Yeah.
Jerry Douglas.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so that's great. I'm really happy for you. I'm glad you guys got to see it, and that is a spectacular, soundtrack, and the movie, it still makes me chuckle.
Yeah. Yeah. It really was fantastic. And the lineup was incredible. And I mean, just an unbelievable. I'm trying to look to see. You got Molly Tuttle, Alison Krauss, Emmylou Harris, Old Crow Band, Billy Strings, Del McCurry Band, Sarah Jarosz, T-Bone Burnett, Dan Tyminski, Chris Thomas King, who was in the movie. and came out and sang his little solo part, which was great. The Alaskan Sunnyside Sisters, look them up.
Okay.
The 3 or 4 little girls that were in the movie are now, obviously in their 30s or 40s or whatever. But the Alaskan Sunnyside Sisters came in, and they're like maybe 13, 11, 9, and 6 or whatever. And they came out and played that one song, and they were amazing. Like, I was just like, how are these little girls playing that well? It blew my mind. It was crazy. Tim Blake Nelson, Fairfield 4, Colin Linden, Jerry Douglas, Stuart Duncan, Mike Compton, Dennis Crouch. The latter 4 of those were basically the house band that played with everybody that wasn't
okay.
like Old Crow playing all their instruments. So it really was a fantastic event. And of course, they all came out on stage at the very end and did a couple numbers together. And it was, I can't say enough good things about how awesome it was to sit there and listen to that. I had a big shit-eating grin on my face the
Yeah,
whole
I'm
time.
sure.
And it's just like, oh, this is so amazing. So even if you're not necessarily a big fan of, traditional mountain bluegrass, blues, whatever music, if you're familiar with the movie at all, this evening would have blown your head apart. I mean, it was mind blowing. It really, really was. It was so, so cool. So very
Excellent.
fortunate I got to go. And I'm telling you, if you ever have an interest in going to the Grand Ole, keep an eye on their calendar, because it's amazing, and it's an amazing experience. 5 or 6 acts, 4 or 5, maybe 6 nights a week, I think. And they go for 2 hours. I'm telling you, your back's not going to get stiff sitting in the seats. It's church pews, basically.
Right, right.
And
I've
you're
been
not
in the building. I've never seen a show there, but
and there's
yeah.
enough width for each of the seat numbers that you're not crammed in. It's not Bridgestone Arena. You're not crammed in there with cup holders. It's church pews. You're sitting there, you've got space. And yeah, I had a great experience, and I think the
Awesome.
Grand Ole Opry's got some shit going on if you pay attention to it, for sure. So check that out. I guess we should probably get started with the show, because this is a good one.
It is.
Welcome to Roots Music Rambler. She's Frank.
And he's Falls.
And we're rambling on through the stories behind the music we love.
And yes, this is a good one. Today on the show, we are finally talking to a group that especially Jason, has been wanting to interview for a while. So we will be speaking with Linda Jean Stokely and Montana Hobbs, better known together as the Local Honeys. So they've become one of the most recognizable acts tied to Kentucky and Appalachia, thanks to their blend of traditional influences in both music and storytelling, and with a decidedly modern approach.
Yeah, I think I would describe them as being a modern folk country band, but with fiddle and banjo at the forefront rather than accent instruments. But I think more importantly, the themes they write about make them one of the most profound artists today, making statements about the political and social impacts of their home areas of Eastern Kentucky, the way traditional mountain folk musicians always have.
Right. And one of their most well-known songs is called Cigarette Trees. It's a protest song against the big coal companies and big businesses coming to the mountains, taking advantage of the people and the place without losing sleep over anything. So it sounds like something written in the 1930s or 1940s by a member of the Carter family. But it was Linda Jean, I think, who wrote the song for the Local Honeys' first album, which came out in 2015.
Perhaps the most interesting and underlying fact about the Local Honeys, besides the fact they are fellow Morehead State University graduates, go Eagles,
Go Eagles.
is that they are such an important force in Appalachian mountain music, yet they haven't had a new album in 4 years and only have 3 full records altogether. Honestly, I've been itching for a new Local Honeys record since I got deep into them for the first time a few years ago. So I'm champing at the bit to ask them if a new album is coming.
Yes. And they have released 3 singles in the last few months. So the latest being Sorry You're Sick, and then 2 more back in the summer. So maybe they are building up a little something for a new album, but we'll have to see. So, Falls, I know that you and Katie saw them live not that long ago, right?
That's right. My daughter and I saw them at Zanzibar here in Louisville before the holidays. We actually got a chance to chat with Montana afterward, who immediately told Katie she should come to Cowan's Creek this summer, which is a week-long mountain and traditional music camp of sorts in Whitesburg, Kentucky. All the traditional mountain musicians and students of that genre spend a week teaching and learning and jamming. And so I'm going to take Katie and be a fly on the wall and report back on that week-long event that happens in late June. So I'm excited about that. But the local Honeys are so good live, and they have a killer band, by the way, which includes my pal Don Rogers, who is lead guitar, mandolin, fiddle, and all sorts of other instruments for them. He's played with Tyler, Cole Chaney, a bunch of others over the years. But they bring world-class musicians to the stage with them and are well worth seeing live, especially if you enjoy bluegrass, mountain, or traditional music.
Yeah, and they played here in Chicago not that long ago, and of course it was the school night, and I wasn't able to go. So, but speaking of Cole Chaney, I think I saw that they just announced a joint tour with him. Yes.
That's right. They've got a series of events touring with Cole this spring, so we'll ask them about that as well. This is just going to be a lot of fun. Even if it's just fun for me, it'll be fun for y'all watching me, I think. Have fun catching up with Linda, Jean, and Montana today.
So it will be. All right. And we'll have our usual Pickin' the Grinnin segment where we share music or other recommendations that are making us grin.
All that is coming up, but first, let's get ready by listening to a couple sponsors that make this show possible. We'll get our refills. We'll strap ourselves in for some awesome Linda Jean Stokely and Montana Hobbs. The local Honeys are coming back with us after the break. Stay tuned. This is Roots Music Rambler. Sorry You're Sick, the latest single from the local Honeys. Linda Jean Stokely and Montana Hobbs are them there Honeys, and them there are right here with us on Roots Music Rambler. Ladies, welcome. How y'all doing?
Good.
Hi.
Doing good.
Yay.
Good. We are tickled pink that you are here. And before we start, I have to apologize to Frank right out of the gate because when us hillbillies are talking to one another, I tend to lapse in my natural dialect, and it might be a little harder for them Chicago Italians to keep up with us. So I'll do my best tonight. So anyway, all right.
Appreciate it.
So,
it could get out of hand.
Yeah, it could get pretty quick. All right, so let's start off with Sorry You're Sick. It seems to me this song is about nursing a friend's illness with alcohol. Am I missing something? And if I'm not, whose mamaw is this based on?
No, I think you got it. I think you nailed it.
Nailed it.
Tell us a little bit more about the song.
Well, I didn't write it. It's a Ted Hawkins song. Ted Hawkins is a brilliant songwriter who's gone now, but I love a lot of music from the American South, and he's originally from the American South, but he spent a lot of time in California, and he did a lot of busking, and he had like back and forth criminal charges, and spent a lot of time, either on the streets busking or incarcerated. And at the time, he had written a record that that included "Sorry You're Sick." That's probably my favorite Ted Hawkins song. I mean, there's some other great songs, but that one is, I think, universally, like, people hear it and they're like, "Holy shit, why do I love this?" And I think it's a much darker song than we portray it as. But again, it's a song. You can think however you want to think about it. It's your interpretation, right? But Ted Hawkins had a lot of success as a songwriter in the European markets more so than stateside, and that's just one of my favorite Ted Hawkins songs. And we'd listen to it a lot in the van, and I I told everybody that I was like, I wanna make this like a cooker and like a barn burner, and let I think it'd be so fun to just play this live and play it fast as hell, and it's just people love it. People love that song, and, I feel privileged to be able to sing it, and, we played at a lot of shows, and people dance and boogie, and it's just nice to rotate beloved covers. We don't really do a lot. That's probably one of the most well-known covers that we do. We play a lot of rhythm music, and a lot of our music comes from, kind of our region and, like, of Appalachia and Central Appalachia and just the American South, and but every now and then, you find a cover that you kind of take on it and that's yours for the time that you're here, and it becomes kind of associated with you or the way in which you do it.
Nice.
But
Well,
yeah, I
it
love
is a
that song.
banger.
It's a banger. It's a banger.
It is. It's a banger. So the new single is just a few weeks old. We know you released some songs in the summer, including the Space Girl song, which I'll ask about in a minute, but I want to just allude to something here first before Falls gets to it because he might be a little testy. Um, with these new singles, does this possibly imply that we could expect a new album in the near future without any sort of like specifics? Just yes, no, maybe?
Yeah, yeah, we're
Okay. All
Yeah, I
right.
always
hope
Great.
so.
we're always
Yeah, yeah.
working
Well,
on
I hope we
always
got
got
another
something up
album
our
in us.
we're always
Uh,
gonna be making records, and,
yeah.
we'll have another record out, but nothing that we've released as singles will be on a new record. Those are
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
Yeah,
the
like
those are
new,
those are
new.
just
the
yeah,
Space
those are
Girls
just for
song.
everybody.
Yeah, and the Space Girl song and Darling Don't You Know That's Wrong was released as a physical 45. It was released into the world as a 45 maybe 3 or 4 weeks before it came out across, all the streaming platforms, and that was just it was kind of a way for us to raise some money to record a new record. We are independent artists, so, making records costs a lot of money. So,
Mhm.
we had recorded those earlier, that year with our friend Ann Gaucher. She's a head engineer, and she's a phenomenal artist and a musician herself at La La Land in Louisville, Kentucky. We recorded that, and we've done another 45. We also love 45s because they fucking sound good. They sound better than just about any physical media. Is a 45 record just has so much ass to it. You wouldn't think that
Yeah.
this like small little piece of vinyl would have so much bottom end to it, but they're absolutely one of the best ways of listening to music. And so we put one out a couple of years ago with the songs "Dying to Make a Living" and "Octavia Triangle" also as like little concept pieces of their own. We think that there's something kind of synonymous with the idea of "Darling, don't you know that's wrong," and this girl, talking about going to space and doing all this shit that her mom said don't do. And we've confined like little threads that tie things together and that we don't necessarily see on a full length record, even though we like making records too. But we also really love the way that music was released on 45s because that's also another place that we find very obscure and fun songs. Because
Mm.
I don't know how many incredible songs have been recorded on 45s that had absolutely shit ass performances or it's a great song, but the song sucks. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it's like a really terrible recording or it's, just not a very good presentation, or vice versa. It's a shit song with a bang like, an incredible, like, banging performance, or somebody just sang their ass off this shit ass song.
Mhm.
And so 45s have their own little obscurity and magic to them, and, we had recorded them and released them as a 45, and we were able to sell 200 limited edition copies of those. They're all like silver foiled numbered, and people could donate to a crowdfunding campaign. Instead of doing like a GoFundMe and being like, hey, we'll get this record to you in however long it takes us. It was like we had a gift. And then it was also a really cool way of tricking people to listening to music intentionally.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people reached out and told us, I don't even have a record player. Because we also like gave everybody adapters too.
Nice.
So they could listen to them. And they said, I went to my buddy's house. I bought this, and me and my best friend, we love your music, and they have a record player. So we just hung out one night and cooked dinner, and then we were eating dessert and listening to the Space Girl song and "Darling, Don't You Know That's Wrong." And it was like, I remember. I'm sure we all remember going to the record store, going to the CD store, and new music would come out, and you had to go and get it if you wanted to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's
it was kind of an interesting way to kinda trick people to do that again. It was really fun, and then a lot of people would kind of reach out and talk to us about it before it came out into the world, and that I don't know, to me, that is something as an artist that we get to offer, with social media. Like, people reach out to us and talk to us on social media all the time. I think that that's wonderful. Or if somebody
And it's
comes to a
us.
show. Yeah, and it's us.
It's
Or somebody
us.
comes to our show, and they were like, they're bringing them for us to sign, and they got to tell us, like, this was really exciting that we got to listen to it before the rest of the world got to listen to it. So, I don't know. We enjoy stuff like that, but, Sorry You're Sick, we had recorded it in a batch of songs, and we didn't think it maybe tied into a record that we're maybe working on,
Mm-hmm.
and,
Gotcha.
so we were like, "Wouldn't this be fun? Like, everybody loves this fucking song. Why don't we just surprise people with it?"
Yeah.
And let me tell you, it's not an easy time to just drop a song into the world while so much is happening around us. Um, and it feels really disgusting to have to market your music and your art and things like that while the world seems like it's on fire.
Uh-huh.
But I think that a lot of people saw it as like, thank goodness. Some nice art and something fun in the world to look at when you're just scrolling on your phone rather than just terror.
Yeah. So you mentioned a couple of things there that I want to kind of underline for people because I don't think music listeners or fans of yours or other artists always understand the full sort of context of how you create your art and what all goes into the business of doing it. You mentioned you're independent artists. You mentioned that when people reach out on social media, they're actually talking to you guys. You mentioned that it's expensive to raise money to record a new record, which is, I'm sure, one of the reasons why we haven't seen a record from you guys in several years, a full record anyway. Um, Give us an idea of like, I'm always fascinated when I talk to an artist and find out that they have a full-time job and they do this on nights and weekends and holidays and they're managing their own social media and they don't have a PR team, et cetera, et cetera. So give us the full compass of who's running the business of the local honeys and what all roles do they have in that business? Because I think people are going to be kind of shocked to hear the answer.
You're looking at it.
You're looking at it, yeah. We kinda, I'm glad you asked about that 'cause, we're artists first, but we're also business owners, and we made a choice several years ago that we were going to kind of operate this as a business and kinda buckle down and learn some shit. And, we can talk more about this later, but Linda and I both met at Morehead State University, right?
Go
And
Eagles.
go Eagles. And, there's a program there called the Kentucky Center for Traditional Music, and we met and went from there, and, I've had people, and especially young people who are getting ready to start their college career, and they're interested in music or specifically traditional music, and they wanna know more about the KCTM, and they're like, "Should I do it?" And I'm like, "Absolutely. It's a wonderful community. that is the place that taught me how to play. It also threw me into a music community. However, I would also suggest doing a double major if you want to major in traditional music and get a major in business. Because you need to understand your taxes. You need to understand contracts. You need to be able to kind of, stand up tall when you're having these conversations and not shy away from talking about money because ain't nobody going to talk about your money to somebody else but you. And if they are talking about your money to somebody else, you got to pay them, like, so Linda and I, we divide and conquer. She runs the social media, and that's a thing that happened just because we were touring a bunch and we would kinda pass it off back and forth. I'd run it for a couple of weeks or a couple months, and then I'd just get so burnt out, and I was, "Oh my god, I can't do this no more." Like, I can't be putting on makeup just to take a selfie, just to tell people we're playing in Wichita, like, and so we'd pass it off back and forth, and she started doing it, and she started looking at it, with a business eye and an artistic eye, and she said, "There's these other creators and artists that I love that had this kind of aesthetic, to their brand in a way." So she started kinda curating that, and I was like, "Well, I hate to tell you, but this is your job now because you're good at this." Hey, if you do a job too well, then that's your job now.
Right.
It's another way to be creative for
For
sure.
sure.
And
Yeah.
it's, one of the things that we feel very strongly about, and Montana mentioned, at some point when we were talking about, because we post a lot of just live music photography
Mhm.
because that's one of the things that we do. Like,
Yep.
we love performing, and that's one element, but we also love photography. And there's we don't want people to look at our social media and think, well, number one, they're not going to think that we're models. We don't, we're not going to run into that or nothing. But they see that we're musicians. There's like oftentimes it's just like it's so many selfies or like, can you see my boobs? Can you see? It's a lot of that, and you're like, what are y'all even doing? And they're like pressing their tits together and asking people to come to their shows, and we wanted to make sure that that wasn't a thing that we were doing, like we wanted to show people like this is what we love to do. We love to play music together and with our band, and we try to make it very much what we are doing, not just like a diary. You know what I mean? It's a I don't know, what kind of like vibe curation. But it is an interesting thing to have to navigate through the social media world at this point.
For sure.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
we mentioned the Space Girls song, and I know when Falls first heard it, he said, "It sounds very different than their other music." So I want him to tell you both while we're recording what
Oh,
exactly he
Lord.
said, how he described it. So Jason, could you tell us,
I,
please?
yeah, I'm almost embarrassed to say this in front of the two of you, but I said it was like they got high and decided to take a Peggy Seeger song and make it a Pink Floyd song, is what I said. But
Maybe we did.
I love it.
Who said we didn't,
Even better.
That's fair. That's fair.
Oh my
And,
goodness.
that's the point to us is like, um, we still like, we're very proud of all of our recordings. Do we go back and listen to all of our recordings on a regular basis? God, no. It's not for us, because, when we recorded our very first album, Little Girls Acting Like Men, that was the first time I'd ever been in a studio, point blank, period. Had been playing banjo for maybe 3 or 4 years, singing for 3 or 4 years. It was all very, very fresh and green to me, but it was so exciting. And I've always joked that, I in our friendship, Linda has always kinda been like an idea generator. They're not always good, but but she's always got 'em going. She's like my mom. My mom always has ideas. They're not always great, but that's
Love talking
fine.
about ideas.
Oh,
And
sure.
I'm kind of her yes friend.
He's
So
my yes
she
man.
was, yeah, she was like, we should record an album, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, okay. How do we do that? And that's always kind of been the way we've operated. Like, when we graduated college, Linda was like, do you want to go to Ireland and play music? And I was like, yeah. How do we do that? And she was like, I don't know, but do you have a credit card? I said, no. So, and we bought one-way tickets to Dublin, Ireland. And buddy, I tell you, they don't like that. They do not like a one-way ticket.
For
And
sure.
showing up with instruments. Yeah. But
Wow.
so what I'm trying to say, like, if you go and listen to Cigarette Trees or Hairs on the Mountain or Little Girls Acting Like Men or any of those songs off that first album, and then play the Space Girls song and Darling Don't You Know up beside of it, it's a lot different movement and transgression of a soundscape. And that's kind of what we've intentionally done. Like, we hope to get better. We hope to if I've been doing it this long and I ain't got no better, what's the point? And
Yeah.
it's just exploration for us too. When we first met and was, kind of becoming friends at Morehead, we were just obsessed with old time fiddle and banjo music. I became friends with Linda, and she was really into this thing and got me into it as well. And we just started playing tunes and going to festivals and jams and square dances and all this kind of like outside stuff with, not just the music. There was all these, Jason, if you've grown up around the Websters, like, how much of a community that is. And it's so magnetic. And so I was like, well, that's it. I'm gonna be a musician for the rest of my life. If this shit's out here, like, this is fun. Um, but then as we like went on in our friendship and traveled and all this and that. Let me tell y'all something. Me and Linda have talked about every single thing under the sun. All right. Because we've spent an insane amount of time together. And so as we're going along, you know, I'm like, did you ever listen to Nirvana when you were a kid? And she's like, oh God, yeah. And
Yeah.
she's like, did you like Jimi Hendrix? And I'm like, yeah. We start uncovering this stuff that our kind of influence and shit that we loved way back in the day. Like, I was like, what how do you feel about Miranda Lambert? She's like, I think she's
Mhm.
badass. And I'm like, yes. So you just start kind of uncovering all this stuff that we have shared influences, and that has obviously bled into kind of how we've moved forward in our own sound.
Nice. I'm not against you guys channeling Pink Floyd, by the way. I just want to
Oh,
make sure that you know that I know you might be working on something new. If that sounds a little Pink Floydy, I'm going to be fucking lighting it up and enjoying the shit out of that. But just
yeah, I'll
for
tell
the
you,
record,
I did, we did have a trip recently and some time in an Airbnb, and everybody went to bed, and I was like, I'm gonna watch Live at Pompeii while everybody's asleep
there you go. That's it. Yeah.
to get
Okay.
some like creative juices.
There you go. That's good. I like
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
So you mentioned a few artists there. I'm curious if you had to boil it down to, one or two artists that really strongly influenced the way you think about songwriting or strongly influenced the way you play.
Uh-huh.
Could both of you pick an artist or two that you think, yeah, this is the roots of me and as a musician?
Like that you would be able to like see like that you
Not necessarily. It could be anybody. And the reason I asked that question is I know enough about you, Linda Jean, that if I asked you what artists influence you, we're going to be here for 3.5 hours
okay.
because you'll tell me everybody. And, we don't have that kind of time. So I was like, okay, let's narrow it down. Give me a couple that are like foundationally important to you. And it could be like
Okay.
my mom,
Okay.
but it could also be, Mama Cass. It doesn't matter to me.
Well, I think I could speak for both Montana and one of our favorite songwriters of all time is Tom T. Hall.
Nice.
I mean, I think we both feel like we still discover Tom T. Hall songs.
Yeah.
And to go back to the 45s, I have several 45s of Tom T that they came out as singles, and then those songs never went anywhere.
Yeah.
He released a lot of songs that people have never heard because they only reside on that format.
Mm-hmm.
But one of our favorite songs in the world is Tom T. Hall's Homecoming.
Nice.
It doesn't ever say the word homecoming in it. He's a fucking genius.
There's no
Yeah.
chorus, yeah, and it's that good of a song.
Yeah.
Kind of. I have an older brother. None of my immediate family is musicians, and I have an older brother who was heavily into music and a lot of kind of alternative music and stuff like that. And I really do give him credit for kind of shaping my like wide taste in music. We would ride the bus, but sometimes we would miss the bus, and my mom would have to take us to school. And I was never allowed to ride in the front seat, and I was absolutely never allowed to operate the CD player. And my mom was cool, and she would let us just kind of explore, we were listening to Eminem, and I was in the 5th grade, and she was like, "Oh, whatever, she's gonna hear stuff like this in the world."
Yeah.
But
Also,
I've been
great Eminem records.
Oh, yeah.
Talking about
Um,
songwriting. Talking about
yeah.
rhymes.
Yeah,
yeah.
and, like, listening to clips. I remember we had like, Pharrell Williams and Clips CD that we burnt up, and but he had one of his best friends, they would steal each other's CDs back and forth, and he stole, our friend Keaton's copy of Bruised Orange, and I'd never heard John Prine before, and the first song I heard was Fish and Whistle, and I was like, "What is this shit?" And just was, like, struck by the simplicity, but how deeply and how broad it can be, but also super specific. And
Mhm.
I have like a lot of my own songwriting. I'm trying to practice getting better at it, but I would always write story songs. I would always have, characters and a plot and, a climax, this and that. I remember when I first wrote a song for the last album, Frank and Billy Buck, I sent it to Linda, and she was like, "Now look, I really like it. I really do like it, but it's 8 minutes long." And I was like, "I know." And, she was like, "Is there any way we can kinda, I don't know, trim the fat here?" And I was so, like, held tightly to it because I was like, "It's crucial to the story." I can't get rid of it because it was a real story that happened that I grew up, hearing about, and I was like, I can't cut it out." And also when I met Linda, like, I soon discovered that she was a huge Beatles fan. She wasn't, like, actively listening to the Beatles a lot at that point, but I think that certainly has influenced her a lot. She knew the Beatles pretty much back and forth, and
Sure.
I I listened to a lot of grunge music growing up. Like I said, I loved Nirvana, I loved Alice in Chains and Pearl Jam and Soundgarden, and that was my older brother, like, I
Yeah.
was forced to listen to all this stuff, but he also was listening to Neil Young and Bob Dylan and, Wu-Tang Clan and stuff like that, so,
Wu-Tang.
I'm so happy to, like, have, I hate it when people say, like, "Oh, I listen to everything," and then it's like, "Oh, it's country and rap." 'Cause I live in that part of the world where people are like,
Yeah.
"I like everything," and it's country and rap.
Yeah.
But I'm grateful that I have the ability to listen to anything at least once.
Nice.
And kind of building off of that, your influences, it seems like it kind of um, has funneled into who you surround yourself with, right? Like Falls and
Mhm.
I talk in the intro about the sort of people that you do surround yourself with, some world-class musicians. So Jason's a big
Yeah.
fan of Don Rogers. You've also recorded with some of the Food Stamps and others over the years. You've got relationships, with traditional mountain players and pickers. So for an outsider like me, okay, describe the community or the music scene in Kentucky because well, in a very Kentucky kind of way, because I keep thinking everyone there is kin, as Jason likes to tease. So
It's
It's
vast. I mean, like right now, the hardcore scene across Kentucky is unbelievable. That's um that's incredible and special. One thing that Montana and I have always loved about the Kentucky music scene is that it is not uncommon or it would not be strange for an entire day of music to be happening or a 4-act bill to be happening somewhere and there be a punk band, a honky tonk band, an old time band, and a jam band, or
Yeah.
what have you. Um, you have very, very traditional artists versus very, very expansive artists. It's very eclectic, but it's all still rooted in um I don't know, the Kentucky history of music is so rich and diverse anyways, and the timeline of Kentucky music is so beautiful and unbelievable, and it is still a mecca of players and artists and innovators. I don't know. It's really cool. I mean, we go places
mm,
and people comment on it. We were in South Dakota earlier last year or something, and they were like, "You all have music and like musicians where you live," and we're like,
Yeah.
"Yeah." And they're like, like everyone we listen to pretty much lives in Kentucky or is from Kentucky. And we're like, well, what kind of like music and like art scene do you all have here? And they're like, not shit is what we have. They're like, we
You're
got a
looking at
fish
it, this
cover
bar.
band and they're okay. Like we are we're living in the promised land and we're living in like this beautiful space of music and art and all over the state. All over the state.
Mhm.
Incredible and interesting music is happening. So
I
I don't know.
think too,
Wonderful.
so for reference, I did not grow up playing music. Like I played the clarinet in the middle school and high school band, and like took piano lessons from a church lady, right? And so I came into playing music later in life. I was about 20 or 21, which in the world of bluegrass, that's like you're as old as Methuselah, right?
Yeah.
Like these kids are starting violin at 4 years old and flat picking the shit out of stuff. So I felt like I had a lot of catching up to do, but the thing that I have observed about the Kentucky music scene is it's very inclusive. It's very welcoming. Um, and there's not like it's not a competitiveness. Like if there is competition, it's quite healthy. But it's not gatekeepy. We understand. It seems as if everyone understands that what's the saying? My mom says it all the time, like, "A rising tide raises all
Raises all
ships."
ships, yep.
Yeah.
Um, and I reference Tyler Childers all the time whenever it comes to stuff like this because he
mm,
we were at Morehead and he was gigging over in, Huntington and Lexington. We're around the same age as him and a lot of those guys in his band, and they were playing the same shit ass gigs as everybody else. They were playing the same clubs and breweries and weddings and festivals
For 4
and things.
hours.
And when I say festivals, I mean stuff like the Woolly Worm Festival,
Yes.
like a hometown, the Apple Festival. I'm not talking about Forecastle.
Corn dog festivals.
The corn
Yeah.
dog festivals
Hillbilly
and
days.
hillbilly
Oh
days.
yeah.
And so and then he just kind of skyrocketed, and everyone, supported him and was like so thrilled to see it happen. And that's still a sense of pride, I think, for this music community. Obviously, we're proud of him, but and his crew and his band, but just like what am I trying to say? It just like I remember I went to watch him play at Rupp Arena with Sturgill Simpson in 2020 before, like, the world shut
Ugh.
down. I saw so many musicians there.
Yeah.
Other artists, just walking around the lobby and stuff like that. Like, that doesn't happen in other scenes. You go to a show at the Borough, you are bound to run into somebody who also has a show in town in another day or 2 or something like that, and, that doesn't happen everywhere. So
Yeah.
we're very lucky.
Well, and also, Frank, to add to that, you have to understand that
Mhm.
each of our mamas begin every story with, "So Linda Gina Montana, Don's friends from the band who used Ella on their record. Now, Mickey and LaDonna's daughter who plays the fiddle, Larry and Cheryl's granddaughter, you know them." So every interaction has to begin with the family tree of everyone in the story.
Yeah.
That's how mountain mamas are. And
Yeah.
that's why their stories take 8 years to complete, but, that's how it is. That's why the texts I
yeah.
get from my mom are 14,000 words, because she has to contextualize who she's talking about for the first 10,000 so she can tell me what happened in the last
Well, give me a
4,000.
backstory. Don't just drop me into a story.
Oh, yeah,
Give me
yeah.
something. Give me a key.
I
So
literally
glad.
have a copy of a text from my mother. All she needed to say in the text was, "A friend of mine is sending a package to Louisville on an airplane. Can you pick it up at the airport on Friday?" That's all she needed to say. 8,000 words. 8,000 words of who this person was and how I should know her, which I don't. I haven't lived in Pikeville in 40 fucking years. I don't know anybody there anymore. But I don't know her, and I don't know her mom, and I don't know her college roommate, and I don't know their kids. But she has to tell me who they all are before she tells me she's sending a package, and then. Anyway.
Does she
So
do
if I
voice to
may,
text?
Italian moms
No,
are
she
very
types.
different.
She types. Well, that's true. That's true. All right, we want to get to more of the background and the journey of the local honeys, but we also want to hear more of that great music. So let's take a quick break. We're going to go out with the Space Girls song since we talked about it, and y'all should experience it. I hope you're not high. Don't try to sync it with the Wizard of Oz or anything, because but they're the local honeys, and this is Roots Music Rambler.
My mama told me I should never venture into space, but I did. She said no Terran girl could trust the Martian race, but I did. Rocket pilot asked me on a voyage to go. I was so romantic I couldn't say no. And that he was just a servo robot, how was I to know? But I did. He don't like breathing this way, but it's lucky he's breathing at all. 35 years in a methane cave makes your lungs all black and raw. He's got a pinch between his cheek and gum, got a pinched nerve in his neck. Rolling back and forth through the shuttle cars, he's rolling towards a nervous wreck. Way down in the hole where he earns his pay, it's dark and unforgiving. Digging this cold, digging his grave, he's dying to make a living. He is dying to make a living.
Welcome back to Roots Music Rambler. That song was "Dying to Make a Living," another lamentation of the local honeys, standing up for the hard working, overworked, and underpaid, and undervalued coal miners out there. That's not an uncommon theme in their music, and Linda Gene Stokely and Montana Hobbs are here to talk about it. So let's start there. Y'all are distinctive in your generation of artists, I think, in that you stand up for others in your music, especially the working class, the poor, and those traditional topics for folk and mountain music. But I don't think protest songs like those are as common these days as maybe they once were. So what about your environment, your upbringings, or just your friendship has led you to lead, I think, with that type of narrative?
That's a good question. Um,
Mm.
We try.
that was good. I like that. You was ready. Well, we've always joked. We've always joked that ignorance can get you pretty far in life at times. And we did not know, that we weren't supposed to talk about certain subjects in music. We were listening to all kinds of music, and specifically a lot of folk music and a lot of like folk revival kind of stuff. And so, that seeps in. You start absorbing that, and yeah, nobody ever told me to shut up and sing. And so we're just, we start singing, and then these things just kind of start falling into place. And I grew up in an interesting household. Both of my parents were railroaders for CSX Transportation. So my dad was a railroad engineer, and my mom was a clerk for CSX. That's how they met. My mom is originally from Knott County, Kentucky, but also claims Hazard, Kentucky. And Knott County is a historically very, very blue Democratic county.
Yep.
And Lee County, where my dad is from and where I grew up, is one of the reddest spots in the fucking country. And it's always been a joke in our family that when my dad went to go, have dinner with my mom's family, that people didn't really talk politics like they do now, back in the 80s and stuff like that. It was like you would maybe ask what party, what party they were in. You certainly wouldn't ask who somebody voted for. But I think my dad said he was a registered Republican, and they heard the forks hit the plate.
Mhm.
And the running joke was that my mom's family said, "Well, we've never met a Republican,"
Oh.
because it was Eastern Kentucky coal fields, and
Mhm.
these were people who pretty quickly early on understood that they were the working class. And if they didn't band together and stand up together, that they were going to be taken advantage of. They would live in coal company houses for eternity. The generations following them would never be able to do better than, their parents and stuff like that. And that's, kind of the American dream. You have kids and you hope that they do better than you, right? And I think, people in working class families in Eastern Kentucky realized that that wasn't going to be possible if they just kind of took it and said, well, we'll just do whatever you tell us to do, and, break our backs and all that. So I don't know. I think that had a lot to do with my influence of kind of how I see the world kind of sociopolitically in a way. And I've just always, believe that people have human rights, and we all deserve certain human rights, and workers' rights are very important. And I don't work, for a big corporation. I don't
Mhm.
work at a factory. I don't work in the coal mines. I'm a songwriter.
Yeah.
So I have a bit more freedom. I'm not gonna
Run
lose
that
my
mouth of
job.
yours.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lose my job if I run my mouth because I work for me and, we work together.
Right.
You can get backlash, you can get canceled and stuff like that, but I think we kind of made ourselves known right out the gate.
Yeah.
Because the first album we did, the very first track on it is Cigarette Trees.
Mhm.
And I asked Linda, I was like, "Hey, you're gonna start this album with the word piss. And she was like, yeah, let's do it. And I was like, all right, let's do it. Okay. Whatever. Like I said, I say yes.
Well, Linda, what about you? And cigarette trees is a great example. Like, where did all that come from for you?
Well, I just again, Montana kind of said it. We don't know no better, and we also grew up with women that very much said what they were gonna say. So I think that's really shaped the two of us. But I think that we forget that music has purpose. And that music used to be so much more integrally linked to our lives. People used to work a lot together, especially in like agricultural fields, and like people doing field work. Song was a wonderful way of entertaining yourselves. Before TV, um, families and friends did a lot of singing together. There's power in singing together. Um, People would sing together communally in church. Um, One of my favorite experiences that I've ever had with Montana was when we moved to Ireland for a few months after we graduated college, and while we were there, it just it solidified the way that I wanted music to be a part of my life. I want it to be such an integral, interwoven part of my life because I've always been a singer. I've always been a musician. I've been a songwriter since a little kid, um, and I've always and I was also an only child, and I sang all the time. Like I remember, my mom made me vacuum every day of my life. Well, I don't know what it is about like running a vacuum or something like that, but it's fun to sing along to, like the vibration of it or whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
I'd be like cleaning tables, and I would remember my mom just being like, "Shut up," because I sang all the time. I was like, even my mom told me, you know how you're supposed to like watch little kids like when they're taking a bath, like to make
You're
sure that they don't
supposed to.
drown. You're
Yeah.
like supposed to do that. You're supposed to like make sure that your kids don't drown in the bathtub. My mom
Yeah.
never had to watch me because she could hear me. Because I had a lot of storylines going on because I had about 25 horses that also took a bath with me, and they all sang. Um, but she never had to do that, and like I have singing is so much a part of my day. I don't even know when I am singing part of the time.
Mm.
Like sometimes I'll
It used
find
to annoy the
myself.
shit out of me. It
I'll
used
like
to aggravate me to death.
I
We'd
still
drive
do it.
around and she'd just be over there singing. And I'm like, what? Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
sometimes
this
I
was
don't even
before we all
know,
had AirPods,
and I still do it. I try to not. Sometimes like I try to do the thing where you drive and you don't listen to anything and you just raw dog the
Mm-hmm.
drive. And I love that, and I always sing. Like, I'll be, like, in a trance. I'm probably incredibly safe to be around,
Right.
as I'm jogging, but, uh, it always turns into song, and it's, like, just some little thing that just, comes out of my head. But when we were living in Ireland, it was, like, at the end of the workday, people got together, and everybody went to the pub, and people just sit around and play music together.
Yeah.
And it's very communal, and it's more of like, let's all go out and like hang out for a while. I mean, we'd go out and we'd see like a chick sitting there reading a book at a pub, drinking coffee or something. It's
Yep.
just like
I think this was
not
also
so
our
insular.
first this was our first experience ever living in a city as well. Like,
Yeah.
Oh.
we had lived in our hometowns and then we like went to college in Morehead. So going to a major city, even though Dublin's not very big,
It's small.
it's like we were amazed that we could walk to
Oh
a
yeah.
jam and, then go
Yeah.
to another one. And it was a great time.
And songs of historically like, ballads, the way that time is and historical context has been preserved through balladry and songs have purpose. Songs make you listen with your heart over any sort of like preconceived notions you have knocking around in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote Cigarette Trees after I saw the Apple Shop film Sludge. If you are a documentarian and documentary fan. I highly recommend Sludge. But I saw that and I got really pissed off about it, and I just was like, this is some horse shit, because a lot of people don't know um, that in the year 2000 in Martin County, Kentucky, there was a sludge pond spill. It was 90 times larger than the Exxon Valdez spill that happened off the coast of Alaska in the 90s. It was like, it was millions and millions and millions gallons of toxic waste. And it is still, it's still an issue. It's still something that they're cleaning up. And as a Kentuckian born and bred, I had never heard this ever. And so I found out when I was about 20 years old. And, you know, that's how I process and things, is I sing a song about it, especially when I don't fully understand something. I mean, if somebody dies around me, then I'm gonna write a song, because that's how like I process my grief and just like things that I don't understand, because I don't understand much. So I have to sing it. That's my way of just processing just my life and the things that are happening around me. And I like stories and stuff too, but I've always admired the things that Montana chooses to write about, because they're very like specific and interesting. And I meant to say this earlier, but I didn't want to interject and speak over Montana. But she was talking about that first record. You know, that record's not meant for us. And yeah, we've had a lot of growth since then. So I don't like to listen to that record, you know, but I love every song that we have ever recorded on an album, especially
Yeah.
especially that record. I love those songs. I don't
Mhm.
personally like listening to them because of, you know, we've seen so much growth. Like, albums are little time capsules, right? Of just like
Mm.
where you are as a singer, as a songwriter, as an artist. Because that was very much us trying to find who we were, finding our voices. And
Right.
I mean, I hate my voice on that record. I hate it. I hate it. But I
Oh,
love those songs. You know, it would be so interesting to like, you know, play all those songs back to back now, the way that we sing and we play, where
Yeah.
and deliver and phrase and sing together. Like, but that is a really incredible moment that is captured in time. So I
Yeah.
love that.
Good
But,
stuff.
you know,
so you kind of touched on this, how when something happens or someone passes away, you're going to write a song about it, right? You wrote Cigarette Trees after watching the documentary Sludge. So what came first? Was it the fact that you wanted to make a difference, so you started writing songs? Or did you say, I want to be a songwriter, and then these sorts of topics found their way to you? Or was it a combination of the two?
I started writing songs when I was like a kid, right? So I would just make up little things that were happening around me, or
Mm.
a lot of times it was like I would just write new words to like songs or tunes that I just like had in my head, you know, and I would just kind of rewrite the words. But my mom put an instrument in my hand when I was about 9 years old. And as soon as I started learning chords and figuring out how they all kind of like put everything together, I started learning how to put things together, and that was my way of, I just wrote all kinds of stuff. A lot of it was shit, you know, but, I never have really ever, since I have been writing songs as a child, said, "I'm going to write a song about this."
Mm.
I always just start singing. It's very like, I mean, it's nonsensical. And I just kind of pull things out, even words I like, and then all of a sudden I'll just like, it's like I pull out an idea, and then as soon as I find the idea, it's like I run with it. Never,
Nice.
very rarely. There's only been like one or two times that I've ever written songs where I was like, well, that might be interesting to write about. I'm gonna try to write about it.
Okay.
Mm. Montana, I'm guessing it's different for you?
We're polar opposites, yeah.
We're the
I've
yin and
gotten
yangs.
yeah, I've gotten better or different, in the past couple of years. You know, I used to very much be like, "Here's a story that I know about," or a concept. A lot of them were just flat out stories, and, I would set out to just tell that with a melody, basically. Um, And, I would hit walls and stuff like that and be like, well, shit, I got to put this in there. How do I fit that? So yeah, we're very, very different in that sense. And I think I admire Linda with how she's very much like, if I can get the first line, if the first line is good, then I can do the rest,
Yeah.
and I don't necessarily I agree with that, but that's not how I operate, because I'm like, there might be a good line later on, or maybe the chorus is kind of the hook and stuff like that. But she's like, if I can grab it right there at the top, then I can go with it.
Nice. Well, we are glad the two of you are writing songs, and glad the two of you are recording songs, and glad to maybe kind of hear you might be recording a whole new album. One of the things, Montana, I want to make sure everybody knows. Well, another thing, I should probably frame this. I'm glad the two of you are paying it forward, because Montana, one of the things you said to my daughter, Katie, when we met at Zanzibar back in December, was one of the first things you said to her was, have you ever been to Cowan's Creek? Are you going this summer? And I'm happy to say she is going this summer.
Yay.
I'm going to tag along and watch, because I
Hell
can't
yeah.
play. I have no talent. I can't play spoons, but I'm going to go along and watch. But I know she's going to walk away from that thinking that Montana Hobbs and Linda Jean Stokely are a big influence on her. So thank you both for leading the way for the next generation of great singers and songwriters who are going to keep that game alive. Real quickly, tell folks where they can find you guys on them their interwebs to see your shows and get maybe an alleged new record and all that jazz. Where can they find you on the interwebs?
Anywhere that seems like the obvious choice. thelocalhoneys.com. We used to always make a joke that because this was true, that you had to put the Local Honeys on there, thelocalhoneys.com, because localhoneys.com was a different website.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I can only imagine.
And it was.
And it
Are
was.
you familiar, Jason?
Nope.
Nope.
I deny all claims to that.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Anyway.
we're on Instagram, Facebook. I guess people don't use Twitter. It's X. We don't do that. We have a TikTok, but it's pretty goofy. And there's a imposter on TikTok, but we can't figure out
We can't get
how
rid
to
of
shut
them.
it down. We can't shut it down. And it's not us, because it's a picture of our very first album cover, and then it just says, "Great music from a great band." We would never say that.
And it also used to say just really good music.
Yeah.
Ah,
And we were like, we would never say this.
well, maybe
It's
it's just a fan
impossible.
It's
account.
okay music. Yeah, but
okay-ish.
they took the thing that we
If you
wanted,
like it,
or
that's great.
whatever.
If you don't, that's okay too.
Oh, they took your the handle or
Yeah.
profile name or
something
whatever.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's stinky. Well,
Yeah.
so okay,
Super
we know
steep.
where to find y'all now, right? Anywhere
We're on the internet. Yeah.
on the
We're
internet,
obvious
all over there.
spots.
The Local Honeys. Make sure you preface,
The.
you precede the Local Honeys with the.
Yeah, put some
but
respect on it.
What's that?
Put
a
some
little
respect
respect
on
on
the
it.
name.
Oh, there we go. Okay, put some respect on it.
The.
There you go. The
Yeah.
Local Honeys. But I would also like to thank you for being here. Jason has kept it under control. He's not fanboying too much over there. This was a big deal for him to get you guys to come on the show. So I
Yeah.
appreciate it. And we both are tickled that you took the time to hang out with us. And we can't wait to see what comes next for the Local Honeys.
Well,
Yes.
thank you for your
Thank you all.
time and everything. And thanks for all of it. Thanks for what you do.
Well, thank you guys for the great music. We love it. They are the Local Honeys. Linda Jean Stokely, Montana Hobbs. Frankly, should be a presidential ticket someday. I'd fucking vote for him. Folks, the Pickin, the Grinnin segment is next, but we have to go to break with the Local Honeys tune that has the most meaning to this show. High on a Mountain is from their 2019 album, The Gospel. It was not only written by friend of the show and my old pal Larry Webster. You may recall episode 27 with Larry and Cheryl Webster, who are such linchpins in the mountain music community in Eastern Kentucky. But their granddaughter, Ella, who we've talked about ad nauseum on this show, plays fiddle on that tune. She is the fiddle player in Cole Chaney's band and collaborated with Montana at the John Prine tribute show at the Burl back in December. But the track, I believe, was recorded at La La Land by another friend of the show, Linda Jean and Gaucher. So if there's a Roots Music Rambler cut out there from the local honeys, this is it. It's High on a Mountain, local honeys, Roots Music Rambler.
Oh, how the mountain lonesome high, whippoorwill sings its lonesome cry. Gone to the mountain for to die, away with my soul away. Oh, how the mountain frosty morn, creeping through the shadows of the it's lonesome bed, I was lonesome born, away with my soul away.
Well, as you can see, I have a big shit-eating grin on my face still because got to talk to the local honeys. Made my day, made my week, probably made my month, might have made my year.
Oh boy.
Yes, that was fantastic. I'm so happy they hung out with us for a while, and we talked to us probably a little bit longer than we had allotted. So they spent some extra time with us too. So I feel
Yes.
special.
Yes, absolutely. That was very, very gracious of them
Yes,
to share so much time with us.
Absolutely. I think I've pestered them so much that we're like, let's just sit here for a few more minutes to get this peckerhead off our backs. Is what that was. But
Maybe he'll leave us alone now.
maybe we can go 3 days without an email from Jason
Oh,
Falls for a
boy.
while. That'd be good.
Wait, there's been no like restraining order or anything, right?
No.
Okay, all
That's
right.
not how we do it in the mountains. And if somebody like that gets on your nerves, you can find somebody to whoop them for a 6-pack. So you get that. That's easy.
Oh,
That's
I'm familiar with that. Like, I
Yeah.
got a guy kind of thing.
I got a guy kind of thing.
Yeah. We have something similar going on here. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Usually what happens is you go pick up whichever relative is getting out of jail that morning, and you say, here's a case, go whoop his ass. That's what happens. Anyway.
all right.
No, that nobody's whooped my ass or even threatened to. So they've been very gracious. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Well, Anyway,
Anyway,
now I know they'll respond to me. So you never know. I just keep on talking. Oh Lord, it's getting
Pickin the Grinnin. That's where we got to
we got to do the pick. It's time for the Pickin the Grinnin segment. By now, you probably know what this is. If you don't, these are music recommendations. We're gonna wrap this up quick. I'm gonna go first.
Okay, do it.
Because I went to see Emily Jamerson at the Monarch here in Louisville last week, and she did a little mini couple of 3-4 shows with a gentleman out of Maryland. His name is Phillips, but his sort of persona, stage name, and presentation, if you will, as he kind of explains it, is Strip Mall Ballads. So if you're looking for somebody on the Spotify's or whatever, Strip Mall Ballads is what you want to search for. And this young man writes excellent songs. He has a new album called Everybody Wins. The songs that he sang at the Monarch that night were outstanding. I was just fascinated with his songwriting and his singing, and his guitar playing was amazing as well. I haven't listened to all of the album yet, but I can't imagine it's not amazing too, because he's great live. He's got a song called 2 for 1 that I absolutely loved. He's also got a song called Pop Tarts, which is really cool, and it's not about Pop Tarts.
Okay.
That's the name of the song. But Strip Mall Ballads is well worth your time if you love singer-songwriters, if you love really thoughtful and witty lyrics and great playing. Strip Mall Ballads is worth your time to check him out. He did shows in Lexington, Kentucky, Louisville, Kentucky, and I think Columbus, Ohio, with Emily. And Emily, was just like, did you get a chance to check him out? I'm like, yes, I did. She's like, he's really good, isn't he? It's like when you got other artists telling you about
Yeah.
someone, they're good. So Strip Mall Ballads is my pick in the Grinnin for this week. Check him out.
All right. All right. Well, I guess it's my turn.
It's your turn. You go.
Yeah. So my pick this week is another one that I found thanks to Sirius XM. Again, in the car, this time with my son. And he's sitting up in the front, and on the display in the car, it shows the name of the band, the name of the song, right? So the name of the band is Buffalo Traffic Jam. And so I see that and I got a chuckle out of it. And then, but for a specific reason, different from my sons. And then he's like, Buffalo Traffic Jam. He's like, that sounds kind of funny. He's like, I wonder if that's really a thing, And I was like, well, actually, I've been in Buffalo Traffic Jams. They are a real thing. And he thought I was just making shit up. And so I explained that, it seems like a lifetime ago, I lived and worked in Yellowstone National Park. And, there's all kinds of buffalo, AKA bison, in the park. That's their home. And if there's a herd and they want to just saunter down the middle of the road, like the only road that cars are allowed on, well, then y'all have to wait, right? Because the buffalo have the right of way. And we used to call them buffalo jams. So yeah, so Buffalo Traffic Jam. So immediately I was, intrigued by this band just because of the name. And then I thought to myself, they've got to be from that region of the country. If they're not, I'd be surprised. And lo and behold, they are from Bozeman, Montana. And it just, and I really, really like the sound, right? I've listened to all their stuff since then. And I really, really like it. It's right in my wheelhouse. In fact, the guy who does most of the singing, and you'll have to forgive me, I can't remember anyone's name right now, but he sounds it sounds a lot like the band Camp, which their early stuff is some of my favorites ever. So yeah, Buffalo Traffic Jam, check them out. And I have to say that they're playing here in Chicago in just a few days. They're playing here later this week. And by the time I found that out, it was too late. It's already sold out.
Yeah.
So yeah. So other people have heard of them somehow, right? So for their show to sell out, and looking at their tour list, it's like the only one on this run that is sold out. So,
well.
I guess I'll have to catch them next time.
All right, Buffalo Traffic Jam. We'll make sure that there are links to Buffalo Traffic Jam and Strip Mall Ballads and whatnot in the old show notes at rootsmusicrambler.com if you want to find links, if you don't remember who they are or whatnot, but you should be able to remember those, and just go Google or Spotify or whatever them their artists, people, so you can check out the Pickin and the Grinnin and the stuff this week. That's going to wrap it up because I am just emotionally spent. I've been blessed with the local honeys for about an hour, and I'm ready to go sleep.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
have
time.
anything left in the tank right now. So, Roots Music Rambler is a production of Falls and Partners, copyright 2026. Our theme music is Sheepskin and Beeswax by Gentacorum. Join us online at rootsmusicrambler.com and make sure you mash that subscribe or follow button so you remember to join us for the next Hoe-Down and Throwdown. She's Frank.
And he's false.
Whatever you do, kids, ramble on.